So welcome to today's workshop. We are very happy to see so many dropping in. We will start shortly. So in the meantime, please take a moment to introduce yourself by writing your name and where you are joining us from in the chat. Welcome, everyone. We will maybe wait 1 minute more. We are very happy that you're all here. So while we are waiting, please write your name and the location in the chat to introduce yourself. It's so nice to see all of your faces. I think I will start now, and I think some more will drop in, but let's start. So welcome, everyone. My name is Sara Persson. I work at Södertörn University in Stockholm. And I have the pleasure of having these dual roles today of being part of the CMS in Touch team, which is organizing these sessions regularly, and then also part of the special issue editors team. So it's really wonderful to see so many of you here today. And we're also so happy that many of you agreed to present your work based on the abstracts you sent us. So we are very excited to hear you talk about your work in the breakout rooms later. We are a large group today, so unfortunately we don't have time for a round of introduction, but if you haven't already done so, please write your name and location in the chat so we can see where you're located and joining us from. We also encourage you to keep your cameras on, but your sound muted if you are not speaking. And we also want you to know that we are recording the first 30 minutes of this session, and then we will stop the recording once we go into breakout rooms. So you will be able to share your work and discuss your work more freely. So this is the second session in the CMS in Touch special issue series, which aims to support the development and publication of critical work. I joined the CMS in Touch team in the beginning of this year, and it's a great group to be part of. So I'm very happy about that and being able to contribute to the wider CMS community. To begin with, I would like to extend my gratitude to the CMS in Touch team, especially those of you who are here today. And then speaking on behalf of the special issue editors team, we are very happy to be able to be part of this series. and to be able to connect with all of you in this free and open space. So in the special issues editors team, there is Ruth Slater from University of Central Lancashire. Sorry, I can't pronounce these UK names. Mariana Johansson from University of Glasgow. Julia Storberg Walker from the George Washington University, and Christine Williams from Dalhousie University. So that's also hard to pronounce. So we started this journey of working together 2 years ago. We arranged 2 workshops in the AOM annual conference. That was great experiences, and we connected to a lot of people through that. And for me, this has been a pure joy working together with you on this. So thank you, Ruth, Mariana, Julia, and Christine for that. I really look forward to this workshop and also continuing working on this special issue. So I will start by briefly going through the schedule of today. Christine will talk. So Christine is also the editor of Culture and Organization. She will talk about the ethos of the journal, and then talk more about special issue and give some examples of previous paper that would fit the scope of the special issue. And then also she will mention the open peer reviewing process that we are envisioning. Then Ruth will answer some of the questions that we received in advance. And then Mariana will talk about the work in the breakout rooms and how that will happen. So there will be 3 or 4 presentations in each breakout rooms. And hopefully we'll also have time to discuss the work a little bit. And then after 45 minutes in those rooms, we come back here for 15 minutes of discussions together in the larger group. So if you have any questions during this session, please write them in the chat and we will collect them. And then we open up for questions after the breakout rooms. You are free to ask them yourself, or we will address them later and put them in the Padlet that Christine will tell you more about. So now I hand over to Christine.
Good morning, everyone. So I joined as co-editor-in-chief at Culture and Organization in December with my colleague Ilari Bonakari, and she's from Essex University, and we are really excited to be in this role with the journal that we have both served as associate editors with for a long time. Now, Culture and Organization is a bit of a different kind of journal, at least we like to think so. We really favor the kind of work that is distinctly qualitative and engages with theory building and is really wants to embrace lots of different critical approaches, including ethnographic, interpretive approaches. We're looking for entries that go beyond description, that really reflect on different conceptual understandings of organizational phenomena. And we're not only interested in management and organizational studies, but we do really love the intersection of different disciplines, including humanities, social sciences, the performing arts, and literature. If you'll advance the slide for me, Sarah, thank you. So when Ilara and I came on board, we looked into the archive to find out what kind of things we could accept at the journal. And we were really delighted to find out that the journal, though it may not be well known, actually really is prepared to accept a lot of different kinds of entries, including provocative essays, commentaries, poetry. I mean, we all understand research articles and things like that, but Culture and Organization can be a home to very different sort of modalities. And so we wanted to make sure that this group understood that in an exercise where we're looking at collective writing in different modalities and emotive writing, that that can show up in different ways, and that kind of work is really welcome at the journal. And we're actually really looking forward to publishing different kinds of work that we may have ignored in the past or neglected in the past. So this is the kind of work that you can engage in at Culture and Organization. So some may be familiar with our relationship with SCOSS, which is the Standing Conference on Organizational Symbolism. We sometimes talk about this as the SCOSSy connection of culture and organization. For those who've attended SCOSS, you'll understand that conference is really a fun conference. It initially started as a autonomous working group out of EGOS, but it's actually been independent for about 30 years. And so we are the journal of SCOSS. And so the kinds of papers that you would see presented at SCOSS actually are very in line and with what we do at Culture and Organization. And in fact, until just recently with COVID, we would have a standing issue that would be dedicated to dedicated to papers that would come out of SCOSS, and that's actually something that's returning in the near future. So again, you'll see this intersection of different disciplines and including anthropology, cultural studies, media studies, et cetera. But the bottom line here is that SCOSS is about fun and engaging in different kinds of ways of doing things. And that's something that we really embrace at the journal as well. So I wanted to share with you a few examples of recent publications that we have put out through the journal, because I think it's important that when you decide to write for a journal, and particularly a special issue, you figure out what literature you're in conversation with at the journal. And if we understand that the journal's having an ongoing scholarly discourse about a number of things, whether it's methodologies or theories or various subjects and literatures, that you figure out where you situate your contribution. And so we highly encourage you to read the journal and figure out where you are contributing to that ongoing discourse. And sometimes that means, including some of these references in your papers. But really what we're trying to encourage is that you understand that it is an ongoing scholarly conversation and that you situate your contribution in that conversation that's continuing. So I am going to put a link in the chat. We have created something called a Padlet, which is, if no one has ever used a Padlet before, it's sort of like a virtual bulletin board. And in that Padlet, you will see information about today's In Touch PDW. You will see the call for papers. You'll see the instructions for authors, which is always something important to follow. So these are the things that you need to do before you submit your paper. There's also, of course, a link there about how you submit your paper, and we do use Scholar One as and many other journals do. And so as you prepare your paper, you want to obviously follow the directions that we offer to authors. There's also, of course, the list of articles that I referenced in my previous slide. So if you would like to do some additional reading, please read those articles. Please read some articles that have to do with what you're actually writing about. I picked some things that I thought were in line with the special issue, but of course, your work is going to engage different things. Additionally, there is a section in the Padlet that's dedicated to questions and answers. So Ruth is going to address some of the questions that we received in advance, but as we continue to receive questions, if we think that they are something that the rest of our authors might like to know about, we will include them on the Padlet and we will answer them on the Padlet. Additionally, on the Padlet, you'll see a section called Other Inspirations. So we will continue to populate that with information, articles, videos, etc., that we think might help you as you develop your work. In terms of the calls for papers, we are looking at bringing collective writing and co-writing to the fore as a process of the sociology of knowledge process. We're really interested in promoting modes of writing and epistemology such as writing differently, which we understand for many may be new, but for those of us writing in a feminist tradition, it's not so new. And we're also very interested in challenging traditional academic approaches. And as you'll see, a number of our abstracts that we received in advance are actually challenging academic writing, but also writing in the what it's like to write as an academic. So we're looking for different ways to engage and express yourself in the academic space that might be not traditional. So thank you. I'll go one more slide, I think, before I can turn it back. So in the special issue, you'll see that we've offered some ideas, some starting points for papers, including exploring the intimacy of co-writing. Co-writing is a challenging process, and a number of our abstracts are actually going to engage directly with what that process is really like and what it really looks like. And we're also encouraging different literary strategies and ways of writing. We would like to encourage some blending and blurring of modalities. Some of our abstracts are already doing that. They're blurring essay with poetry. We really favor first voice explorations, passionate engagement, embodied writing, emotional and emergent forms. And some of our abstracts are already doing this, but they're writing as a form of resistance, emancipation as becoming, as a form of identity work. So these are all ideas that we put in our special issue, and we're so delighted to see that some of them have been picked up on, and they'll form part of our discussion in our breakout rooms. So one of the things that we decided to do, and I have to credit Alex Bristol with this, she asked us to consider an open peer review process. And the reason that this resonated with us is that, you know, really the peer review process is a form of co-writing where we receive feedback, we incorporate that feedback. It's sort of, you know, behind this publishing wall, this work that happens prior to a manuscript being published, but it is developmental, it is it's sometimes emotional, it is a very engaged process. And so Ilaria and I really liked the idea of piloting this with the journal. We recognize that we're sort of learning by doing, but this special issue is, I think, really a perfect opportunity to explore what this looks like in action. And I'm delighted that the special issue editors are agreeable to try this. So what this will look like is we will still use the Scholar One system. We will still honor academic integrity and academic rigor. But what it will be is that the reviews that happen will be authored. And so they will be signed by the individuals who conduct the reviews, which means that the authors will know who is reviewing their work. And we believe that this will change the dynamic of that process of reviewing and revising. We want to recognize that this is also a form of co-writing, and it's an important aspect of a manuscript's development. And we do believe that, well, we think that some of those reviews will appear in a variety of different ways. First of all, obviously, they'll be taken up in the manuscripts themselves as the authors revise their work. But we do imagine that we will also incorporate some of that in our own editorial that will be featured with the special issue. We also want to let those authors know that did submit abstracts and topic ideas in advance, that we as a special issue editorial team will provide you with some feedback in advance of submitting your manuscript. So thank you for taking the time to submit something to this workshop, and we'll make sure that you receive some input and some insights from us as well to encourage you as you continue to develop your work. Turn things now over to Ruth.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here and to be working with such a wonderful team of people, and also to be hearing from a number of you about what you've submitted and what you're proposing, and I'm looking forward to some excellent discussions later. We invited people to just raise a few questions, and we collated them together, or collated them, and here are some answers. I think question 1 and question 2 about the nature of the article has probably already been answered by a slider earlier on. We will gladly receive and consider both conventional article formats and conventional article formats as well. So please be as free as you want, and imaginative as you want, within whatever boundaries you want to put. Poetry, and if I submit a poem, should it include some kind of contextual frame around it? Anything that you submit, we feel should have some kind of framing, perhaps as an essay, to explain and put it in the work within a context. Rather than just submitting a poem or a story or a picture, piece of music or whatever, just some words, some narrative to explain the context in which this work is being done, or is being seen, is being experienced. Does the paper have to use a feminist epistemology? No. Most epistemologies that will fit the ethos of the journal will be warmly welcome. So despite the fact that some of the things that we've chosen to show you do seem to have a feminist epistemology, it's not exclusively so. Sarah, yeah, thank you very much. One question that is very interesting about does your submission have to explore the writing process itself, or can it just be an exploration of a management organization studies topic through these literary forms or musical forms, or the literary, poetic, emotional first person? And yes, you can explore both ideas or just one of them. So you don't necessarily have to explore the writing process, and you do not necessarily have to include a commentary on the use of your medium, but can simply use that poetry and fiction in the study, as long as there's some kind of framing of it, as we said earlier. Now, ChatGPT and other forms of AI work that's available is, of course, a really interesting topic in all kinds of ways. And so one of the questions that we were asked was about ChatGPT. And we would say, if you are using it, you need to explain the explicit how you've used it, for which parts of the text. Because this special issue is about writing as a way of creating and co-creating knowledge, you would need to use how ChatGPT or other AI programs can fit in with the intimate and collective writing processes that we're looking for. And also, if you use it, what kind of knowledge is it giving you? Can you infer from it? So I have seen a number of other questions come in, which we will take a look at. And if we can't answer them today, we'll try and answer them on the Padlet. So thank you very much for that. And thank you to the people who submitted these most interesting and challenging questions. So I think that's me done for the moment.
Thank you. Thanks, Ruth. And hello on my part as well. It's so great to see so many of you here. We're going to move into the breakout room phase now. So as you might have seen, we encouraged people to send in abstracts if you already have ideas. They didn't have to be polished abstracts and so on, but rather if you wanted to start thinking about what you might write about. And it was great because we had about a dozen abstracts come in. So in order to give everybody the time and space to present and for others to be able to participate in and share those ideas, we have assigned the abstracts to 4 breakout rooms, and we're going to look at the list of breakout rooms in a minute and give you a chance to get a sense of what you might want to choose. So authors are in 4 different breakout rooms. There will be one of us, the guest editors, in each room, and the rest of you can just choose which room to go to based on the theme that interests you. And as I say, we'll show a list of those. There will be about a 5-minute presentation from the authors, and then we have 5 minutes for immediate comments and reflections. And depending on, of course, how many presentations there are in each room, because the rooms will be open for 45 minutes, there might also be more time for a general discussion at the end. So for those who have submitted abstracts, this is really an opportunity to present their ideas and to hear immediate reflections and comments on their presentations. And for those who are still thinking about their writing and what to submit, it hopefully gives some inspiration and also gives you an idea of the different types of submissions that people are thinking of, because we have different forms of writing, poetry, vignettes, collaborative autoethnographies, and so on. And as Christine explained earlier, we're open to all forms of submissions. In these rooms, as I've written, they're conducted in a spirit of generosity and support. So the point is not now to conduct what we might call traditional reviews or critical evaluations of the presentations or the ideas, but rather to think together about how they might be developed or what we might find interesting. So we can actually say that the collaborative process also starts now. Of writing and developing these ideas together, and they will not be recorded, so they are also safe spaces for everybody to contribute. So let's have a look at the list of rooms then. I know this is very small text on one slide, but I think it will be easier for people to see them all so that you get an idea. So there are 4 different themes, as you can see, and we broadly group them into a theme that in a way makes sense, although it's always, of course, a bit arbitrary. The first one is music, poetry, and stories. So this is either writing about music or in poetry form, the value of stories, and so on. The second one is collective writing. We wanted to dedicate one room to collective writing, collaborative ethnographies, autoethnographies, because there's quite a few submissions of those. Room number 3, rage and care, and maybe the two go together more often than we think. We have a few presentations there, probably 3, and the final room is on academia and belonging. And these are also cross-cutting, so it might be that in other groups there are papers about the context of academia and so on. But in any case, this is the way in which you'll be able to pick your theme. Authors make note of the room that you are in, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And Kirti will open the rooms, and then people can, the other participants, you can pick the room that you want to be in. So I'll give you a chance to have a look. And I can see there